so we can record this and we can always kind of broadcast this back out a little bit later on. But good morning, everyone, and this is Stephen Ball here at Delphi Ball, and on the line as well with us today is David Millington and also Marco. You guys there?
Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Cool. So the kind of thought behind this really was just to try something a little bit different, and just have a session where we can really share openly, how things are at the moment, what's kind of going on. There's a lot of different stuff going on around at the moment, and a lot of people having to work from home for the first time, or who normally work from home having different challenges working from home as a developer. So we thought we'd try running a few sessions like this, just as a chance to kind of catch up and talk and to share ideas and what's kind of working and what's not. And let me just kind of view kind of some kind of topic areas that we thought we'd kind of cover through today. The chat is open; it's a live chat. Everybody can see everything that's going through on the chat, so feel free just to kind of to say hello to everybody and to kind of have that communication. One of the kind of key things is being able to kind of just meet up and kind of chat with other developers as we go through. So please do go for that. But we've kind of got a couple of ideas here for areas to talk around. As I say, it's completely unscripted. We haven't really kind of got anything in terms of slides or anything to go through. It very much is going to be what you guys make of it as a session. So your chat and input is going to be kind of important to help this kind of move forward. But I thought maybe we just kind of start a little bit about just kind of who we are and kind of our experiences of working from home so far as a kind of kick-off. So maybe if I'll go first, and as I've got the mic open, I kind of typically work from home maybe 1 or 2 days a week. Most of the time, the office for the Embarcadero UK office is kind of 15 minutes drive from me, so it's quite nice to kind of get in, and I get a lot of value being around the office and being able to interact with the guys in there from finance, from HR, to the kind of the guys who are helping developers get their products and the problems and challenges that are out and around. So certainly at the moment I'm kind of missing a little bit of that kind of office time and that face-to-face time that we have. But typically over my career, I've had a few years where I've worked from home extensively, but I've also had a lot of time where I've been in and out of the office. So, but predominantly, I'd say I'm more of an office-based worker than a home-based worker. So, David, I know you're kind of online, and you've got quite a bit of a different background, really, haven't you?
I think I have, yes. And that's an amazing photo of me. I haven't seen that for about 8 years. Where on earth did you find it?
I literally just Googled for your photo and up it came. So.
Oh wow! Yeah, I've been remote working for many years now. I started remote working actually when I moved from Australia to Europe, and that was in 2011. So not only was I working from home, but I was also working across time zones. And I've done that ever since. I actually haven't worked in an office for 9 years now. These days, of course, I work from Embarcadero, but I work from Estonia, one of the Baltic countries, and our team is spread all over the globe. So there's both working from home and time zones there as well. So many years of working from home and a few different challenges of various sorts.
Okay, cool. And Marco, you're online as well, aren't you? So.
Yeah, I've been working from home since I started with Embarcadero 7 years ago. But having the advantage of being able to plan it more than this just happening, I've been able. I mean, I have like a separate home office, which is really like a separate entrance door within the same building, it's a separate apartment, and that's helpful because it gives a good separation from family/kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still like a flight of stairs, but the fact that it's not like have people just walking around as you're working, doing meeting. That's helpful. But again, that was like more planned and thought out. And well, we're also lucky to be able to buy this additional small apartment. So yeah, of course, I mean, some separation helps. Although I have to say that, like, when I have meetings in the evening, because as for David, I also have a lot of people I work with which are 9 hours apart, which is a bit challenging. And so when I do meetings in the evening, I generally don't get down, but just stay upstairs and have a separate computer that I use for evening meetings. Yeah. So, but having a place at home which is specifically for working, possibly with the door you can close, this is really helpful.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So,
Stephen.
Yep.
Can I just chime in a second? Dave, he gets up and gets dressed and everything in the morning as if he's going to work, I think he said. Is that right, David?
Yeah, that's right, I do. I think one of the topics we're going to talk about. Sorry, say again, please.
I just an anecdote. I just flashed back to remembering that when I first left university and started off working for myself, I used to, in my little bed set, I used to roll out of bed, sit there, not wearing anything, and code away for a bit and look out the window every so often and see whether it was still light, then roll back into bed. It's just a sort of stark contrast to getting up and going, right, okay, I'm going to start work, so I'll have a shave and all of that. So I'm more like that now. So the world changes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's kind of one of the things that David and I had a quick chat yesterday, and we're talking about kind of, you know, productivity and how you kind of get focused and kind of get into it. And certainly routine is a key part to that for us. And for me, you know, I put my webcam on here. You can, if I can, yeah. I think it's probably a good thing. Here we are. So for me, having my, you know, I've still got my shirt on, you know, it makes me feel like I'm ready to go to work. Actually getting dressed in some regards, it kind of gives that kind of separation. And it also helps, I find, with the kids. You know, if they see me in a t-shirt running around, they know they can go play. But if I've got something that's a bit more work-like on, and I say, right, I'm going in to do some work into my office, they kind of get that separation a little bit more because it's a bit more visual for them as well, which is kind of cool.
No, I agree with that. And the other related thing, which it's extremely relevant, is to set your routine, including the hours you are supposed to be working compared to the hours you're supposed to take time off and do what you want. I mean, of course, that's different if you have self-employed in full or if you have a company you're working for. But probably in both cases, I mean, trying to set up hours and stick to those hours, I mean, have like regular dinner and lunch and whatever, or whatever is your rule. I mean, you can start early, start late. I mean, whatever it works. And again, having time zone differences, things get tricky, but trying to make sure that you reserve time out. I mean, I have time out booked on my calendar for given hours of the day where I'm not working, sorry. I mean, unless there is an emergency.
Yeah.
But that's important because otherwise the perception can be, oh yeah, someone is always available like 24 hours a day to do any work anytime, any minute. That can work a few days, but it doesn't work in the long run at all. So that's important. Having working hours, regardless of the fact you're in office or home, is very important.
Yeah, I think it comes down to this kind of whole point about perception when working from home is that when you're out of sight, sometimes you're out of mind, and it's kind of hard to say, well, if you're not seeing somebody working, it's hard to think, you know, are they working? Are they doing all this stuff? Are they not? And actually having that kind of structure helps people understand where you are and when you're available. And for me, you know, I've got a 7-month-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old, and having dinner, bath, bedtime routine for them is really, really important. But it means that if I got that blocked out in my diary, I've got a couple of hours in the evening that I don't mind a few nights a week having calls with the guys in the US if they need to have later calls. Luckily, a lot of people are in Austin, so we can get most of the calls done in their morning. But it does make a big difference to having that kind of structure in place, for sure.
I think perception is an interesting thing, Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can share a little about my experience as well, if you want. We've touched on a few things, such as your routine and getting dressed for work and that kind of stuff, which I think are good on a psychological level. You get up, you have your coffee, you get dressed, you go to work, even if going to work is just walking 10 meters. I personally find that very useful. One thing we haven't mentioned is having a specific space to work. Now I live in an apartment and work from home, and I don't have a separate office room. My desk is in, my apartment's sort of fairly open plan, so my desk is in my living room. But when I work, I always work at that desk. I never take my laptop to the couch, for example. I go and sit at that desk, and that desk is the work spot. And it means that in the evening, I can stop work and I can be sitting actually 2 meters away on the couch, but I feel in my head like I'm in a different place, have different associations, and helps me draw a line when I stop work to keep the work-life separation there, the connection between space and location rather, and how you feel is quite important.
Yeah. So, guys, you've heard our stories about how we kind of work and what we kind of do. The chat is there. Tell us about what you guys are doing, or if anybody wants. We're not a massive group in here today, but if anybody wants to kind of share any anecdotes they got about from their side, then that would be great. I know David did share one small anecdote with me yesterday. I don't know if you'd be willing to share that with the wider group about one of your mishaps with with Skype or something at one point with your boss.
Oh, sure. Yes, this might be interesting for many people for whom working from home is new, and we had just discussed the concept of getting dressed for work. Now I do that every day because I find it useful as a routine. Get up, coffee, get dressed, work, that kind of thing. I also feel that I don't know, it seems sort of moderately respectful to my work environment if I'm sort of dressed while talking to my colleagues and stuff. They don't know the camera's off, but I feel better by doing that. Now, the slightly embarrassing story that I told Stephen a couple of days ago is actually from a few months ago. It was very hot, and even sitting with the window open, it was enormously hot. And I'd taken my t-shirt off while I was sitting at the desk. I was busy typing away on an email. Skype pops up and took keyboard focus. And as I was typing the email, pressing a key, answered the Skype call and turned the camera on. And there I was suddenly talking to my boss without wearing a shirt. And this kind of thing can happen. It's moderately embarrassing, but I think it's one of the things from working from home is that everyone who works from home in the entire team needs to be aware that people are at home and other things can happen. You might have children interrupt you, or
I'm running the risk of that today,
like that.
very much so.
Yeah. But things like this can happen. I think it's important for the whole team working from home to be sort of understanding of events that wouldn't necessarily happen in the office, and not interpret them in a bad way, just as a sort of your home. This happens.
So I know one of the other kind of things about working from home and kind of that adjustment is very much, as I said earlier, I like being in the office because I get that tacit information, that stuff that doesn't get written down and communicated out, and having that push out sometimes from what you hear and that general chitter chatter around the office. And I know certainly within the company we've got a number of virtual teams, and you guys work with them a lot closer than I do. So how do you kind of manage and kind of get value from that kind of different types of communication, you know, and the different kind of stuff? Are there any specific tools that you're using, or that you fall onto to kind of help kind of get that different type of communication?
So is that Mark and David, or generally?
Anybody can. Yeah, we've got yeah.
So the company we do most of our work for, they've got sort of 65 workforce that have had to move from off to remote, and some of their systems that they've set up. So they've set up WhatsApp groups, which there's quite a lot of banter going on there. And I also coach at a gym where we have a formal WhatsApp group for outbound or broadcast information. And as soon as that started getting filled up with kind of chit chat and banter, we created a separate one. So we have sort of two channels, if you like for that. And one thing that came up in the we're obviously having these daily meetings of the directors and the managers to make sure that everything's sort of running smoothly, and we're sort of sorting all the IT out. But the staff have in each team, they've set up a WhatsApp group, and the question came up was whether the managers or directors should be on that group or not. And perfectly fine, we got no problems with it, but the directors and upper management aren't going to be formally involved in those groups, because the team, the team lead sort of felt that the chat would change if sort of the senior people are involved. So it's important, really important, that you facilitate and allow that kind of group chit chat, whatever, because and a lot of the staff are very or reasonably young, certainly a lot younger than me, and so when we come into the office to do work installs and help out, we notice how much chat goes on, and we think that it's actually sort of, it's too much, but in fact that it's a fundamental part of their kind of sort of health and well-being, if you like. And so we're set up a wiki to try and get to give working from home practices about breaks, about how you sit, where your laptop, all that kind of stuff. But one of the key things is going to be about tips and tricks for helping people. And the concern from my point of view for those people is the ones that are very quiet, that we don't hear from. You've got to make sure that you have in contact with them and they're engaged, because they're the ones that are possibly going to find it most isolating, most difficult.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I guess the dynamics of different levels of management and so on are kind of a key one to kind of, to be aware of when you're working with different groups and bits. But, maybe David or Marco, we've got teams internally that are kind of distributed around and kind of are quite mature in terms of their processes and bits now. Any kind of tips or tools or bits that are quite useful from your guys' point of view?
We make pretty heavy use of Slack internally. We have, 25 different channels or so in our Slack chat, which I think is very good for sort of an informal level of staying in touch with what's going on, in the various areas of the product and work and that kind of stuff. One of the things I like about Slack is that by default, when you start any Slack chat, it'll give you two channels, just general and random. And if you set that up for your team, you can add channels on any topic you want. But the idea with random is that it's not work related. It's a place to talk casually about anything, the same way you might when you go make a coffee and you meet someone in the office kitchen. And I think it's really good to sort of encourage people to write there and to share things in their life or news they've seen or anything like that. It's a nice way just to sort of have a non-work visibility and awareness of the people that are in your team.
Yeah, I think that's pretty important, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree in general, and also going back to what Justin was saying, having a informal chat channel is important. Something, yeah, that's not monitored from my upper management. Just give some freedom and flexibility. I mean, the type of chat you do, like near a coffee machine or during a break, and it's important, which is not like record. It's also important though that if the same communication, like Slack for us, involves something that's important to track in the long term, and it is also, I mean, collected elsewhere. For example, we use Jira for bug tracking and management. So whenever there is a Slack conversation that's relevant enough, someone copies it into the matching Jira for long-term tracking and for reference. I mean, for official reference. So that's one way to combine informal and formal chats. The other thing we occasionally do is when doing some type of work is to open Skype communication and chats, and at times, I mean, there are multiple people on Skype, like everyone doing his own stuff. We're not strictly working together, but just keeping it open, having a chat. It's like really very informal, and I think it's good. I mean, people need to work together in the sense of the term, and so that's very nice. The last thing I want to mention, and this is something useful regardless of the work from home, but we've been leveraging it more and more, which is the ability of highly interactive collaboration tools. The most obvious example is Google Office tool, like the Google Docs or Sheets and so forth. I mean, the slides don't really work that well. I mean, the one that really works marvelously is Doc. I mean, two people, 3 people, 4 people working on the same document, but at the same time talking. We say, okay, yeah, we need to fix this. I'm going to handle this paragraph. Like, you go fix another section. I mean, it's brainstorming and writing at the same time in the same doc, like thousands of miles apart. That's, I mean, the productivity you can gain compared to making a fix of this document. I send it to you for review. It's really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there are tools that really make a difference, and they encourage me, kind of encouraging to spend some time learning what works for you. I mean, and every team has its own tools, and for activity, there's a solution. But the tools that are available out there in terms of real-time collaboration are just not those, and are important.
Yeah, it was one thing I certainly missed when I was at Nokia, who are very heavily kind of Microsoft-based in terms of all the stuff they have internally, was the Google Docs. As you say, it's just so nice to be able to edit and work on stuff at the same time, and get the kind of the comments and everything flowing through it very nicely. It's very, very good stuff.
Can I just add, because there's a big PR thing for Microsoft Teams and whatever, and I don't know if this is relevant for everyone. I don't know how many of the guys actually in the group have actually been sort of jilted out of their offices and now are home working. But I'm resisting that at the minute, and we're using Zoho, and we're using Zoom, and we're using Skype. And I'm just wondering if anyone actually thinks that Teams is the absolute bee's knees, and we should all be using it for collaboration. Because I know things like the Office 365 document editing, that's improved hugely, the sort of collaborative document. But in terms of just the richness for meetings, chat, and all of that, has anyone got an opinion on that?
Yeah, so I use Teams quite a lot at Nokia, because I didn't have Google stuff, and it is really good. It really is good. It kind of brings a combination of Slack with kind of the different channels and having conversations going on within the channel, and also having the ability to have different SharePoint areas linked and different drives linked around the network. So you can have, within a channel, you can have access to specific shortcuts. You can also then put onto there a number of different shortcuts for specific documents or web pages or other kind of things. So it does bring a number of bits together quite nicely, and having the access control in there Teams is a very, very good product, and certainly one that I'd say is definitely worth having a look at if the company is based heavily on Microsoft stuff, and especially if they've got SharePoint, and especially if you've got multiple things that you need to kind of bookmark and reference to for the team. I actually even have used Teams for myself when I've had specific types of meetings that I was kind of involved with, and there was regular documents that we had to go and review and things like that. It was quite easy to set up, shortcuts to them, so I could go to that specific channel, make the notes about the things that have been said in the meeting and relevance to it, and I've got access to the kind of the key documents that are part of the processes that need to go be updated and worked through. So Teams is very, very good. If you're using any of the Microsoft stuff, then it's definitely worth having a look through. Yeah.
Well, we use MS Note, OneNote internally for the for the 4 people that work for Jack2, with that, and we share an awful lot of notes. We have a structure and all that allows for that. But it was just in terms of I'm getting sort of pressure to actually get it up and running, and I'm like, well, with all these changes, I just need to sort of hold fire for a minute and just take stock rather than get
well, maybe try
busy trying to install that.
Try it internally. Just set up a single team, and you can link that OneNote document into a tab within the team channels, and then you've got a conversation thread to go along with it, and then you've got the document there as well, and it'll bind the 2 bits together. So if you wanted to try it and have a play with it, then that would probably be a reasonably risk-free way to do it internally, and then you can always kind of ditch it afterwards if you don't like it.
We at Grey Matter use Teams quite heavily for the similar reasons to Marco, for communicating, like particularly for me because I'm in the marketing team. We're obviously working on content and stuff a lot, and like at the moment I'm actually working on a document and there's 3 or 4 of us writing on it at once, which is really useful.
Awesome.
And also just talking about other things as well around coping in the current times, having things like webcam on, like you've got Stephen, really does help because it kind of puts a face to the people you're talking to and gives a bit more like humanity to it, I guess.
I guess it gives that second dimension of communication as well, as it goes beyond the verbal. You get a bit of that, visual part of it as well, which helps.
And we found like doing daily meetings with your team in the morning and maybe doing one in the afternoon helps to just touch base with everyone. Not just about work stuff, but checking on how everyone's coping with everything. Seeing people's cats quite a lot at the moment. And then sometimes we do like a coffee break. So we'll take our 5-minute break in the afternoon, but we'll do it virtually with the webcams and have like an informal chat, which can kind of help with the connection with everyone. But yeah, with Teams, it's really useful because there's various different methods, like you said, to communicate with everyone, whether it's through like instant messaging at the side or commenting on a specific document, obviously categorizing different folders and everything. It is quite useful to have it all in one place.
Yeah, definitely echo that. This is Ben from Grey Matter. So we've been in an interesting position as a company where we've gone from everyone working in the office to gradually moving people out. We found that Microsoft Teams has worked really, really well, as Leanne said, keeping those meetings up and those communications. Also to add to Jason's element with the gym, we've been sort of trying to focus on keeping people active. So at the moment, I'm just going to flick my I don't know if you can see my my webcam there. I'm afraid I haven't got a collar on for you today. Sorry, I do have a t-shirt. But you can see I'm sort of standing up. I don't know if actually that's probably not a good angle, but I'm actually standing up at the table, just trying to keep myself active. I got up at 6:30 this morning and did yoga with my wife to try and keep some activity within the day, because I think that's important when people are at home and things. but we've also run our personal trainer sessions through Facebook and yoga sessions. So it's kind of like being in the office. We've still got those types of things available to us. I did have a question though for anyone who's working, who's used to working as part of a group of developers. Is anybody having sort of specific problems or elements that they would usually find available to them when working as a team in an office? Are people now finding things that are missing now that they're working remotely? I don't know if anybody's come across anything like that.
Yeah, if anybody's got any comments on that, go ahead. I've got one that I've been kind of working. Well, you can probably see in the background there is my basketball shirt from when I was at university, on the British universities. And I kind of, in my spare time, I've been updating a basketball app, and I've got a few guys around the local league who've been helping kind of test through some different bits, and I've been using kind of Miro just to kind of say that, you know, here's a kind of list of things that we've got to work through, and then just being able to move them through in progress in testing, and then, you know, when they've got to be documented, and then kind of when they're done. So kind of Kanban style board. I know quite a few people use, you know, Kanban in the office with the post-it notes up and around, and this is quite nice. I just found this the other week, so I've started kind of sharing that around with them, which is kind of useful. But I don't know if anybody else has got anything else that they've been playing with or they find, you know, good from the talk point. A quick look through the chat here. It's Ian saying he talks to himself a lot. Does that count? I guess. Yeah. I hope you got a nice clean mirror to be able to kind of get that second person. So, Jason saying, yeah, definitely video calls. They've got 4 full-time developers and used to spend time in the log cabin. Now they're trying to work out into different locations. So doing a lot of video conferences, daily stand-ups, and that kind of thing. And yeah, it is kind of a cultural change, isn't it? You know, having that kind of the webcams on for the meetings. I guess, you know, quite often the conference calls we have are just a quick call. You know, it's more kind of the telephone audio element of it, and kind of breaking that barrier to putting up the webcams and actually saying, yeah, I'm here, and it's okay. And is kind of a shift. Certainly, I know that was one thing that we had a rule with. You know, when I was at Nokia, we had my boss and most of my team were based in Finland, so we always had a webcams on rule for our weekly stand-up, because otherwise you do lose, you know, a chunk of the communication. And it also helps sometimes when people are on mute and accidentally forget they're on mute, and you can see them talking, which is kind of cool. You know, Dave was saying here he came across hallway chat recently, which gives a chance for kind of tea breaks and coffee breaks to have a regular space to go and have a video and audio chat, and to kind of schedule that kind of thing into the day, which is quite cool.
We've also managed to have a cheeky team leaders beer on Teams the other night, and we're going to roll that out to the entire group to try and get a little social together on Friday, just to congratulate everyone for their week's work, and try and make it a bit more fun and a bit social, and keep everyone together. So on top of the normal meetings as well.
Yeah, so I'd say probably summing up everything that people have been saying is, like, you know, keeping in touch is kind of key to keeping the communication going, and to be able to move things forward. Use the different forms of communication, like email for what it's supposed to be for, but things like Slack and you know, are great for that kind of, and Microsoft Teams are great for that ongoing communication around things. And then when you get to the point something needs to be formalized or needs to be put into requirements, things like Jira as the next step. And to use that, that kind of replicates the typical office communication channel, doesn't it? You know, that, hey, you've got some ideas around things. What do people think of this? And then as those ideas grow and develop, or you kind of get to the point, right, well, that's something we need to do. Creating the task in Jira or you know, other software like that to set it up to to track it and make sure it happens, and then being able to reference back to the bits that you had there from the conversation beforehand. But also find time for that two-way communication where it's more than just text, with the cameras on, and use the appropriate tools for that as you kind of go. And just kind of going back also to the kind of the productivity stuff that we started at the start of the day. With the kids here, one thing that I found, certainly, we've had, the schools have been off for a week now. My son's school shut early because a couple of the teachers were showing signs of COVID-19. We've had one of the other schools in the village shut a few days earlier because they had a pupil there, and it was kind of it's meant that we've had a week now working from home with kids around as well, which normally I pick the days to work from home when my daughter's in preschool and my son's got kind of after school clubs and stuff like that as well. So I do get a lot more quiet time at home to kind of be able to focus on things. And that's one of the beauties for me normally for working from home is I work from home when I've got recordings to do or I've got other stuff that I need quiet space for. And I found kind of being flexible with my working day is something that I'm kind of having to do a bit now. So, typically we have about 12, half 12, the kids will sit down, we'll have lunch, we'll go and have lunch as a family together, and then I'll take the kids outside for a play if the day's okay. We've been playing football for the last couple of days because Harvey got a football goal, a new football goal for his birthday at the weekend. And that just kind of gives Charlotte a bit of a break to go and do kind of other bits around the house that she needs to do, or things that she wants to kind of go and sort out and kind of help, because it's not just being aware about my space and what I need is for my development and for my my work with Embarcadero, but also being aware of how I can help the other people around me facilitate that as well when we're working kind of close contact and so on. So Robert's saying here, I've been working solo for 20 years from an office built on the side of my home. So it's kind of business as usual for me. But totally concur about the need to maintain work, home life separation. But the commute to work is great. Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely. I guess different times of year, do you have to kind of get your wellies on to kind of get out in the snow, or is it... do you kind of wait for the rain to stop, or you just kind of put your back on and go if you've got a door out the side? Cool. Guys, anything else that anybody wants to kind of share, or any tips or anything that they're finding from kind of this experience? And also, have you found this kind of chat kind of useful? Is it worth us kind of doing a slightly wider push on this kind of thing and having a follow-on, show us some other conversation stuff at all, or?
Maybe if anybody's got any suggested topics for any future ones of these that we do, where we could do a little bit of prep for you in advance and present something, let us know if there's anything that you're particularly interested in.
Okay, just whilst that's coming up, I'm just going to have a quick look here. I know, Jason sent me over a quick link to some stuff for the developer groups. I'm going to see if I can get this up onto the screen here. So one of the things I would say is...
That's a really cool wallpaper.
Oh, this one here?
Yeah.
We went. There's a story behind this. We went out for a family walk after a friend's birthday party with another family who just sit around who live around the corner from us, and the kids were looking under mushrooms trying to find fairies. And when I got back to the office, I put it onto my desktop, and if you can look at just under the mushroom here, I managed to find an image of a fairy that I was able to overlay, and I sent her a picture back on Messenger, and apparently her 7-year-old was going absolutely mental, going, "Oh, mummy, I thought I saw a fairy. I really, really did. I did find a fairy." So yeah, but it's actually quite nice for icons and stuff to be on. It's quite, so yeah, thanks for that. So Jason, are you still on there? Did you want to kind of mention a little bit about the developer group? Because I know certainly being kind of a developer in the past who was part of a small team, I found it invaluable being able to connect up with the developer groups. And I think times like this as well are also kind of great for keeping in touch and kind of getting that kind of other contact as well.
So you know, developers can sort of be solitary beasts in any time, with or without what's going on at the minute, and we know that a lot of the UK developers are sort of single or developers or teams of 2 or 3s, and they're working for companies oftentimes and don't really get into the community much. So and the UK developer group started off as UK Bug. Years ago, and it started to sort of become very quiet. There's only a couple of people in, but I really relish the sort of face-to-face. You know, as I said earlier, I've been working, you know, self-employed for myself since '92. And so the developer group now, we run it. There are 30 members. There is a fee for joining, but we're a real community that meet in a pub. And on Friday, 2 weeks ago, when all this was breaking, it's like, well, our Monday meeting is going to have to be cancelled. So we went virtual. I've really been resisting doing too much virtual stuff, because you know, the developers that I'll lean on when I need a hand, of course I'll Google, of course I'll go on Slack, Stack Overflow, but then knowing that sort of Adam has this experience, or you know, Patrick has been doing this with certain parts of Delphi and whatever, it's so invaluable. So we're currently going to have to meet virtually. The first meeting was really actually very good, and sort of really pleased that we could hold it, and it still held some of that sort of community feel. The key things out really for me are that everybody knows each other, and when you sort of start getting into the groups of 50 or 100 or 150, it's very difficult to have that kind of that sort of contact and sort of intimacy. So anyway, so this is just our group, and if anyone in the sort of UK wants to kind of get on the mailing list or come along to one of the virtual meetings that'll be now, at least the next 3 are going to be virtual. Just there's the slide. We've got a active Facebook group, and we've been sort of trying to get Slack going. We've tried Mobilize, we've tried Discourse, and I think Slack is what we're going to use. Anyway, so we'd also, now that we are remote, and we'd love to have remote speakers. We've tried having remote, Marco and other people have fantastically sort of offered time in the past, and they've been sort of virtual. But getting fresh content is always difficult. So actually, if anyone wants to do or anyone knows of anyone that they think, oh, they should do a talk, that'd be good. We're all coders, we're all developers, so we'd like to see some code in every presentation. So it's not sort of sales or marketing. It is sort of code tips, tricks. We've got nuggets that are 10 minutes going up to full presentations, which can be anything up to a couple of hours. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity of let me say a bit on it, and that's our page. Hopefully you can all see that. I guess if you're on a mobile, that may look pretty small.
Okay, just I'm going to go back to a couple of the bits on the chat here. Glenn's saying he's got a small office, about 5 minutes walk from his house, and the psychology of going to work really helps him get prepared to write code. Yeah, completely understand and agree with that. One from Marco here, Richard's saying, whilst all bunkered down, can we have 10.4?
Well, we're trying to get people betas to play with while we're all stuck in our houses.
So yeah, beta's coming then. Yeah, that's a good second best. So definitely, yeah, recommendations, get a VM and throw it in and have a play once that goes live. Yeah, Rob's saying here, communication is always key and important. We all need other folk to bounce ideas off and to tell us when we're being stupid. And I think to quite fair, that is one of the good things about the developer groups is, at least you can openly talk with people and say, look, we've got this idea about trying to do this. What do people, anybody got a different way to look at this, or anybody been down that rabbit hole before, and get those learnings to help you kind of avoid some, bloody noses that you can make otherwise. And also it's quite nice because it's quite often safely away from other people within your company, so you can be told you look stupid, or you're going to do something that's going to make you look stupid if you've got people who are going to talk honestly with you before you actually go and do that.
Yeah. Can I give an anecdote on that? So in the last meeting we have it was in the last face-to-face meeting, so it's a month and a half ago. And someone at the beginning of the meeting, we have a Q&A, we have some news, we get some Embarcadero news, everyone gets a few things off their chest, and then we get down to, so if we've got time, we've got some questions and answers. And somebody who's upgrading from, I can't remember what version of Delphi to a later version of Delphi, had issues with the transparency on a T-frame. So but I can't quite remember. I think the frame transparency false is not set so that the frame inherits the color from its parent, and it's changing behavior from a very old version of Delphi to a current one. And so that was posed at the beginning, and then whilst the talk's going on, people's heads are scurrying around trying to, and we came up with a couple of solutions, some bodged ones. I put forward a very bodged one that worked, that didn't require any code change and didn't require you to do any refine. But people are really invested in helping each other with pragmatic solutions, and there isn't that kind of, well, if you're too stupid to work it out, then you shouldn't really be here. That's really what I like about smaller sort of tight-knit communities, where everyone's invested, everyone feels that everyone's pulling in the same direction. Just one last thing. So for our next one, are we all going to be on webcam then, so that we're all?
Well, yeah, I'm more than happy to kind of host, and we can run something through. It'd be nice to have kind of some topic areas that people want to share or to kind of talk through, or if there's a wider group that we want to do this with. But I'm more than happy to kind of host and do something again at another point if people are finding value in this, as a chance to kind of meet up and just have a bit of a different kind of time. But so yeah, just kind of any ideas on where to go with that? I'm more than happy to kind of take those on, and but yeah, if we're going to go more, then if anybody is online at the moment, also just put their webcam on, say goodbye, and thanks very much for joining. Then hi Jason, please do go ahead, and it's always nice to kind of just put some faces in. Hey Richard, hey Marco, hi guys, hey no.
It's Robin here. I just wanted to actually quickly have a quick word about, because what Jason was talking about there, about people getting stuck and not being able to find a solution on something they're trying to do. I talk with an awful lot of people all the time, and I obviously do hassle both obviously you, Stephen, and also Marco and David as well for solutions. But a lot of times I speak with people and they just literally get stuck with an issue and they're going over and over and they can't get it resolved. And it's just trying to get their message out there that there is a community who can help you, and it's just a matter of engaging them. I spoke with somebody and they're having an issue getting their application to work on iOS, and it was like, well, I said, who have you actually spoken to? Well, I haven't spoken to anybody yet. And it's like, well, we can help you, but you've got to tell us you're having a problem.
Yeah, as I said, I think one of the great things is obviously being able to share knowledge of these kind of groups around, and also make a place for people to kind of catch up and do that kind of side of things. So let's see what we can do for these times to help each other through. And let's say anybody with an update subscription, they've always got the support contracts there to help you as well, and to be able to kind of get pointers and bits back. So it's good for that.
I think we probably pick up most of our new members. We've gone from 15 to 30 members over a couple of years, and a lot of them come from people who have searched for a particular solution, and then we're like, oh yeah, so-and-so's done something like that, and it might not be the exact solution, but then suddenly someone's engaged and, oh, hang on, I'm not in a broom cupboard on my own. There's something more out there.
Cool. All right, guys. Anything else anybody wants to kind of ask the group, or just to kind of share, or? No. Okay. Well, I'm going to give you a wave then. Is that something? Is it?
Guys.
So, all right, guys. Thanks for joining up, and I hope you found this useful. And keep an eye out, and we're trying to see if we can get something else going in the future as well. All right, take care. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks,
Cheers,
everyone.
all. Have a good day. Stay safe.